Hi everyone. Just a quick video to address some important community matters with you. Nothing fancy or polished, just me being me, trying to be as accessible, transparent, and publicly accountable as I can. In 3 terms as your mayor, and 22 years of being actively engaged in our community affairs, I've embraced the privilege of being trusted by you, the people in our community, to collectively lead us forward. From the beginning, it's been important to me to elevate our community's mindset to not seeing us as being small and limited, but to see ourselves as being capable and unlimited, to not being afraid to challenge conventional thinking about what a smaller municipality can or should do, to think big and break our own trail, to not accept the historical small town Canadian mindset that suggests the best we can typically do is to gather the crumbs around the cookie and somehow be satisfied, but to accept that we can bake our own cookie instead. Sometimes we forget that our community is still in its infancy, that our last pioneer was with us until recently and just passed away. I mean, who can say that? That is such a cool part of who we are. Our forebears were resilient, fearless, and determined to establish a community that takes its place and leads the development of the frontier. A frontier, quite frankly, that I believe largely remains today. It's this very mindset that has been the foundation of my every effort as Cochrane's mayor. I'm so proud to have led and worked alongside many local champions, leaders, and proud average citizens who care and truly want to accomplish some wonderful things for our community. In the first 2 terms, Cochrane developed more per capita, which is per person of population, than anywhere in Northern Ontario. You might be surprised to know that includes the Big 5 centres. Started another signature festival in Summerfest to go along with the oldest winter carnival in Ontario. Made it legal for us to drive our ATVs and sleds freely around town. Made it legal again to have open fires during the day, embracing our way of life. Built the only retirement home in the region outside of Timmins and secured the financial support of all the regional municipalities to do so. Had the only free bike share program in all of Ontario. Built our first roundabout, effectively solving the worst traffic area in town. Built our first crosswalk. Built the region's newest and most renowned entertainment facility on Lake Commando. Expanded the Tim Horton Event Center seating capacity. Built our amazing boardwalk. Secured a junior A hockey team that went to 2 Dudley Hewitt Cups, the Ontario Championship, and won the league championship. And the only community in the corridor to actually host the Dudley Hewitt Cup, to this day, right here in Cochrane. Repaired and paved more roads than any council since roads were first paved in our community. Leading Cochrane's first pay equity initiative, where gender equality was established for male and female employee wages. Led the provincial effort and chaired an association of over 160 municipalities for reducing policing costs that saved Cochrane alone over $600,000. And while everyone else focused only on the economy, we expanded our thinking to be socio-economically oriented, creating a vibrant social structure as well, leading to 5 times more social assets than typical in most communities our size. Being transparent has always been at the forefront of my leadership style. I've always believed that as professionals, we must be able to focus on the matter at hand and problem solve together, no matter how big the issue. That we have to rise above taking everything personally and diverting from collectively problem solving, especially in the public service where we operate in a proverbial fishbowl. And while I know most demand transparency, I've also learned that many don't react well to it when it's actually being done. Transparency is hard to do, even harder to hear sometimes. As mayor, I've had to put my personal interests aside and navigated some very uncomfortable situations in order to uphold my commitment to being transparent and accountable to you. You know, it's not easy for a mayor to speak publicly to the issues we face in our doctor shortage when it involves a staple institution critical to the provision of our emergency health care. Many just wouldn't do it. It's not easy for a mayor to put himself directly in the line of fire when having to rethink the long-entrenched municipal management structure, which affects many of our friends and family, and as such, always so difficult in a small community. Most politicians wouldn't put the public interest before their own to that degree. And right here, right now, I'm having another difficult conversation with you that most wouldn't do. In being transparent, it's important for us to speak to the biggest challenge we as a municipality face this term. The biggest I personally faced in my 3 terms as mayor, the recognition that our municipal management model and the public service was in dire need of a rethink. What makes this so hard is, in a small town, we know everybody personally and many of whom are good people with good intentions. The reality, though, is that if we are truly committed to doing what is best for you, the public we serve, as professionals, we have to rise above our personal feelings and problem solve. What I'm about to speak to you about now is very difficult to speak to here in a public setting, as I'm sure you can imagine. But I'm going to try and navigate this as constructively as I can, with the only intention being to contribute to keeping you informed. I know now that I completely underestimated how much the operation had changed in just one term when I threw my hat back in the ring in 2022. In hindsight, I think I understand better now why it had. In my first 2 terms, we had a lot of senior employees and managers who had a good mix of both municipal management acumen and critically important political acumen. Almost all of those folks were no longer there in 2022. Through normal attrition, they aged out, as about 50% of the workforce in Northern Ontario did. More importantly, this involved key managers, including 3 CAOs. That is an incredible loss of capacity, something as complicated as municipal operation. An unprecedented and generational phenomenon happened at the same time in COVID, which shut down the operation, styled hiring and replacing, and changed the whole workforce pool completely. At the same time, mining took off, creating lucrative new employment opportunities, impacting the workforce pool even more. Almost every municipality struggled through this period. Even today, many municipalities across the region, 94% of them, are facing the loss of experienced managers and high turnover due to these dynamics. This was just reinforced by the most recent comprehensive study released earlier this month. Unfortunately, turnover in municipalities is common and the new norm. But let's constructively talk about what I alluded to earlier, which is the added need here in Cochrane to refresh the management model in public service. Well, during the election campaign, I heard steady frustration being expressed by the public. And to be expected, a lot of change had taken place and a lot of experience had been lost. Even then, my impression at the time was I knew most of these folks and had a great relationship with almost everyone during my first 2 terms. I still have a great working relationship with the management team. I also know the public service is complicated, and I felt I could separate the misinformed criticism from the informed criticism. As I stated earlier, I underestimated the circumstances, and along with most of council, quickly recognized that if we were truly going to do what is best for the public, what is right, then change needed to become a priority. It's important to re-emphasize that most people in the operation are well-intended and come to work every day looking forward to serving the public to the best of their ability. It's not an easy job sometimes, but it's a job that has to be done. And again, it's also critical to separate the people and the personal relationships from the issues that we are working to problem solve together. So, is the standard of service generally okay? Well, is it okay that $2 million of the public's money was misappropriated and 5 years after the fact, there's no proportionate public accountability and the public had not even been made aware? Is it okay when council asks for the staffing count by department, they're essentially told that it's none of council's business? Is it okay that expensive generators go missing from the dump, and when asked if the police were called, no one knows and no record of this is provided? Or when asked what the expensive camera system that was paid for and set up for this very reason revealed, to be told that they haven't been working for years? Is it okay for there to be no appropriate accountability for this? Is it okay that a public asset like the pavilion be rented out to someone from down south with no contract for a concert that was a no-show resulting in a near riot? If that happens, is it okay for the municipality to be exposed like this? Should there be appropriate accountability for something like this? Is it okay for over $100,000 in entertainment equipment at the pavilion to be missing or stolen and not replaced? Is it okay that bills were regularly going unpaid for suppliers for over a year, despite numerous requests to reconcile? Is it okay that $1.2 million of revenue from an evacuation initiative remained unclaimed for well over a year because we haven't even issued the claim? Is it okay to not be paying bills as a result? Is it okay that council would be approving in multiple budgets critical road work and taxing the public for that work, and the work not getting done while requesting the same projects in the next budget? Is it okay for this to be happening every year with no appropriate adjustment to correct it? Is it okay that engineers on a main piece of road for some reason can't talk to each other, effectively postponing the critical work until next year, only to be told next year that the same problem exists, postponing the project again? Is it okay that grass is growing unmanaged in many places around town? Or accessibility doors and elevator remain broken for years in the municipal building? or that snow doesn't get cleaned off the roof of the event center during an excessive snow year, where schools' roofs are caving in before our eyes, and many requests were made to watch out for this. Is it okay that it doesn't get done regardless, while the roof does end up suffering structural damage? Is it okay that our kids were in that building playing hockey and swimming? I don't think it's okay, and I'm sure most of you don't either. And yes, staffing is volatile, as I spoke to earlier, like everywhere else. But before we default to the narrative that we are somehow understaffed, I ask that you consider 3 important facts. Staffing really has little to do with our ability to elevate accountability, and Cochrane has 1 employee for every 67 residents according to a benchmarking exercise done by a third party. Hearst, the best direct comparison to Cochrane, has 1 employee for every 102 residents. CAP for every 107. That's a sizable difference. And everyone else of comparative size in the region has even less per resident. Cochrane does have 6 people at the polar bear habitat that Hearst doesn't have. But Hearst has a larger daycare. And in Cochrane, there is 1 manager for every 6 or so employees. For perspective, in a local mining operation, they have 1 manager for every 67 employees. Again, this is not intended to be personal or to be controversial. It's what public transparency and the public's business being the public's business, as laid out in the mandate bylaw issued by council at the beginning of the term, truly looks like. Again, this really is not about people. It's about being okay to have a higher standard of public service, even in government. It's just another problem that we need to try and keep our personal relationships with our friends and family separated from, as hard as that is, and needs to be professionally solved for the benefit of the collective that we all serve. As a council, most of us accepted the fact that it would be politically challenging to effectively address this. It became clear that some council somewhere would have to find the courage to lead this important change, knowing how politically challenging that would be. I'm proud of those on council who chose not to play the usual politics, but to have the courage to accept the burden of doing what's best for the public we serve instead, and just doing what's right. In the last year or so, since refreshing the management model and turning the corner past operational restructuring and focusing on community goals, a lot has been accomplished in a short period of time. For all intents and purposes, we've crammed almost a 4-year mandate into 1 year. We've expanded the Cadence retirement residence to help with the backlog, solved the doctor shortage dilemma, securing 2 more doctors this term, and rethought the recruitment direction, creating a list of more doctors, visiting and considering the 2 remaining positions to be filled here in Cochrane. Paved 8 years worth of roads in the last 2 years. Secured 100% annual funding to repair our local road network, connecting Highway 11 to Highway 652 until a bypass can finally be built. Developed an innovative housing development incentive plan that positions Cochrane for success as the next mining boom unfolds. Established commitment and direction to make Cochrane the most housing-friendly municipality in Northern Ontario, not only setting up housing development, but the whole continuum of housing from low income to seniors to locals to new members of the community. Created a precedent-setting bylaw and directive mandating the highest standard of public service, transparency and accountability, and the people's business being the people's business. Established a seniors tax credit for property taxes. Re-established recreation grants for both seniors clubs. Returned the development charges to homeowners in the CGV subdivision who were being charged for paving that wasn't taking place. Repaired 2 bridges critical to the agricultural industry that have been long dilapidated and not prioritized for many years. And we've initiated a precedent-setting revision to our procurement bylaw that prioritizes shopping local. We now give added value to local businesses, recognizing what they mean to the viability of our community. The compass is pointing in the right direction. The hardest part of this important change to the public service is done, and it's just a matter of time and patience before things completely level out to where they belong. Now, we're headed into another election. I can't believe 4 years went by so fast. While I came into this trying to become the difference in the world that I was seeking, I also believe that life is not meant to be endured, it's meant to be explored. With that in mind, you may already be aware that I won't be seeking a 4th term. After 12 years as mayor and 22 years in our local municipal affairs, it's time for me to explore the next chapter in my life. It's time for someone else to take the reins and continue the mission. I'm extremely proud of what I've been able to contribute to my community. And while I wish I could have done more, I will always feel privileged and grateful for you placing your faith in me as you have for 12 years, and in the many, many relationships built over those years. And while this term had significant challenges, no doubt, I'm proud of having been able to rise above the pressure to remain steadfast in my commitment to serving our community, to serving you. Navigating intense public scrutiny and opposing viewpoints in a small town is challenging to say the least, not just for me, but for my amazing family who continue to enthusiastically stand behind me as I explore these adventures in my life. In hindsight, as I'm sure you can imagine, it really does require immense resilience, discipline, and personal dedication. Throughout it all, while not always perfect, I tried to stay focused on our shared goals and upholding the promises I made to represent the best interests of everyone. Everyone on council who supported the change that needed to occur can take pride in having the courage to do what many wouldn't in order to selflessly best lead their community. While there is still more to do, the hardest part is done, and the ship is absolutely sailing in the right direction. As I said earlier, it's just a matter of investing the time needed to let things level out. The best evidence of this is the consistent accomplishments taking place in the last year or so. My hope is, in this election, the community sees the critical importance of maintaining the stability in the course. My hope is that we see the need to elect leaders who will have the courage to separate personal feelings from what is best from the collective at large, who will continue the bigger thinking, bringing the bold and fearless vision and the resilience to the table that our forebears and pioneers did, the very thing that separates us from other communities. My hope is we resist the calls and fear-mongering of those driving personal agendas or driving axes, all too common in elections. In a small town, we know who those folks are, and electing them to council will almost certainly set the community backwards, and not only entrench the previous culture, but likely make it near impossible to ever change it again. Cochrane is well set up, and we have navigated the uncomfortable change that comes by every generation or so. This is absolutely the worst time for us to go backward. We'll be mired in self-destruction, while other communities are reaping the benefits of generational opportunity before us. That not only impacts our current generation, but our future generations as well. When you go into that voting booth, please do so with our kids and grandkids in mind. We're poised to be the front runners in growth in the region. We're poised to reverse the doctor shortage and housing deficiency. We're poised to forge the trail ahead while others follow our lead. It's critical now more than ever that we will elect leaders who have demonstrated that they will put the collective best interests of the community ahead of their own personal interests. That when push comes to shove, they will make the personal sacrifices required to do what's right for those of us they lead. I can't wait to see where our community goes next. Thank you, Cochrane. Thank you for being such an incredible part of my book of life. Onward and upward.